Έστω.
Go fuck yourself, Cavalry. Age of Mythology is a real-time strategy game made by Ensemble Studios prior to their untimely demise. You take control of a civilization of antiquity and myth to lead to glorious victory by beating the hell out of everyone around you in the name of the gods. Before we get into that though, let's talk about how this game looks.
It looks fucking old.
Nah, but really, for a game almost 20 years old, it looks like you would expect it to. Playing it now, you'll notice that some of the texture work isn't the smoothest, and that dead models simply sinking to the ground, leaving behind a PNG of their skeleton. But as long as you aren't zooming in on the soldiers' faces all the time, and it's an RTS, why the hell would you be doing that? It gets the job done. Cutscenes actually have alright graphics. Nothing to be blown away with, but noticeably better than gameplay. I have fever dream memories of being able to turn the nice graphics on during missions too when I was like 5 years old, but to my knowledge, that's not a thing you can actually do. Oh well. The graphics are helped by the fact that the art design of the game is second to none. It's an ensemble game and they knew their stuff when it comes to that, but it really shines through here. All of the units and buildings carry a fantastical look to them that manage to avoid going too over the top. I don't look at a temple and go, is that it? But it also doesn't look like it belongs in a Warhammer title dedicated to the god of drip. The worker units are simple but elegant in both appearance and animation, and the military units are the stars of the show. When you have rows of berserkers charging in to hack the enemies apart with axes, you need them to look the part, and they don't disappoint. Units even update their appearance after each main upgrade, so it looks and feels like you're making progress through the game. That's not even covering the myth units. Greek, Egyptian, and Norse mythology have all come to life to take yours. A golden colossus the size of a house can use a sword the size of a bowl to cut down buildings and infantry like nothing. I might have been too hasty with that drip comment earlier. And while it's not quite on the level of Dawn of War sync kills, myth units and some heroes have special animations for certain actions, like the Cyclops picking up an enemy soldier and throwing him like a football. Go along. The sound has the same level of quality to it. The simple sounds of workers building structures and gathering materials sounds great. The clashing of swords and shields in combat combined with the thundering steps of a monster comes together to form exactly the kind of chaos you'd expect and want in a game like this. The music is even better. The background stuff you hear for most of the game is like the elevator music of Mount Olympus. It's smooth, relaxing, and otherworldly.
Λέγε. Ναι. Πρόσεχε. Μάλιστα. Έτοιμος. Ορθός. Πρόσφατα. Λέγε. Βούλαν.
If you want something nice to fall asleep to, here it is. It's the perfect mood setter for this game. The voice acting is pretty solid as well. More on the story later, but the main character of the base game, Arcantos, has some pretty fantastic delivery.
Troops we send now will be lucky to arrive before the fight is over. Even if they do, their only task will be to show the banner of Atlantis, not a task for an admiral.
His entourage of historical and mythological heroes do as well. Same for the game's original characters.
Your head will hang from my mast, Atlantean!
Arcantos, by the gods! I did not expect Mother Atlantis would send her best admiral to fight for me.
Gracious words, King Agamemnon. And look at this. Ajax, I'm surprised to see you still drawing breath.
These Trojan dogs keep trying, my friend. Good to see you again. Who did you upset to get sent so far from home?
Over the top and aggressively accented, just like an RTS should have. The units, meanwhile, are a mixed bag. Some are better than others. The Minotaur, for example, sounds like the brutal bull creature you'd expect him to. But the Colossus is just a deeper version of a worker unit, or maybe Arcantos.
Λέγε. Μάλιστα. Βούλομαι.
I can't tell exactly who he's being recycled from, but I can tell it's just a reuse, so that's not great. Still, the atmosphere and general presentation of the game is great, even if some things could overall be better. So now on to the campaign really quick. Never mind that for now, let's talk about gameplay. The campaign has all sorts of different ways to start each mission, so for now I'll use the skirmish mode as a general overview. You start with basically nothing, a scout unit, some villages, and your town center. You need to build your base and expand to advance in the game. Nothing mind-blowing for an RTS. You'll want to spam worker units in the first stage of the game. The AI doesn't cheat as far as I know, but unlike you, it has control over everything at once because it's a computer, so you want to double down on resources because it sure will be. In my opinion, this game's resources gather quicker than other games, but also get used up quicker than in other games, so be careful about spamming them all at once because you'll burn through them quickly if you aren't. There's 5 resources in the game: food, wood, gold, population, and favor. The first 4 are staples of Age of titles and most RTS games in general. Get more of them by farming, mining, cutting down trees. You get the picture. I don't need to go that in depth on how to get berries from a bush. Favor is unique though. Each faction gets it in their own way. The Greeks pray at the temples they build, Atlanteans build more town centers for it passively, the Chinese and the Egyptians construct certain buildings to get it passively again, and the Norse beat the shit out of everyone they come across. Resources are required for technologies, buildings, and creating units, of course. To advance from one age to another, you need a certain amount of them in a certain building, a different one for each age advancement. As you advance, you unlock more buildings, technologies, and units. When you advance, you do so by picking which god you want to be your patron for that era. Different gods all give you different god powers and myth units. For example, Hermes lets you force peace on everyone on the map, and he lets you recruit centaurs, while Ares' power locks out unit recruitment for buildings in a certain radius, and you can recruit Cyclops. Cyclopses? The big one eyes. Well, I think it's safe to say some powers are better than others, like Aphrodite changing a few select units to pigs once, while Apollo gets a 2-way Eldar Webway gate. There's no power that you're an idiot for picking over another because it's that much weaker, and because each god also gives you different myth units and upgrades for different playstyles, you're not kneecapping yourself either way. They even tell you which areas a god focuses on beforehand. How kind of them. As for military units, they all have their place in your army. Most units have their own specializations. Hoplites are best used against cavalry, axemen are best used against other infantry. It's a sort of rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. Myth units are where things get interesting though. They're all units from mythology, obviously, and usually have some kind of special ability, like minotaurs goring enemies across the map or centaurs having a cool little bow shot. Fucking pathetic. They all have their own niches and functions, of course, but there's no rock, paper, scissors for them. Regular units can barely touch them. You need a hero for these guys. Heroes again vary with factions. Atlanteans, for example, can turn any unit into a hero, even villagers, while the Greeks can recruit famous heroes of myth and the Norse just train weaker heroes from their buildings. Heroes destroy myth units and are better than regular units as long as they aren't being swarmed. Siege weapons are great for destroying walls and towers. There's not really any unit in the game that you would look at and go, yeah, this is worthless and I hate it. Cavalry is worthless and I hate it. Moving on, there's also the ultimate myth unit, but don't you worry, I'll be getting to him. The AI is okay, all things considered. It doesn't usually make bad decisions as far as units or buildings go. Balanced composition is usually the way to go since doom stacks take up too much population to work, so cheesing the AI in the game isn't viable in that regard. In combat they do fine, there's no huge screw-ups they make in combat or anything. Sometimes they have issues with walls, especially in campaign missions, but it isn't too noticeable because they pretty reliably pump out units that can wear you down in a war of attrition, even if the patterns are pretty predictable. The pathfinding, however, can get pretty bad. It isn't horrible usually, but units can get stuck on terrain with some frequency. The worst is in the unit formations. There's only 4 and the pathfinding AA usually bugs out on all but 2 of them, especially the square formation. I think it has something to do with how much space you have around your units and them trying to fit into formation properly in that space. On this beach they all work fine, and they switch pretty smoothly in and out of different formations. In this tighter map though, I lose complete control of their movement. They want to go down for the life of them if they aren't in the default formation. I wouldn't say it's game breaking, just something to keep in mind when trying anything beyond marching towards the enemy in one giant phalanx. But hey, it worked for Alexander, so it'll probably work for you. Okay, now it's time for the story. Unlike Age of Empires games, there aren't several different small campaigns. In basic Age of Mythology, there's one massive fuck-off mega campaign. It's 32 missions long, and these are not quick missions. On hard, the missions can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on your playstyle and the exact level you're working on at the moment. Hard also more than lives up to its name, at least for the campaign mode. Because the levels rarely ever leave you and the enemy symmetrical in terms of starting position and resources, you can end up fighting off constant hordes of enemies while you're working with very little comparatively. It also does the classic spawn an extra 1,000 units for the harder difficulty trick, so be aware of that. Just gonna put this here so you know for the rest of the video, because I'm sure some of my complaints can be explained with I'm just bad. Alright, going over the story now. Spoilers from here on out, so be warned if you're really passionate about getting the story of a 20-year-old RTS fresh, and strap yourself in because this is gonna be a bit long. The prologue starts with Arcantos, your main character for 90% of the missions, fighting a jackal while surrounded by monsters in a dream. He kills it, Athena shows up and remarks on it, then cut to Going Atlantis where you can really see those graphical tricks to make it look like you're not just a non-moving brick on the water. Get to Atlantis, debate politics for about 10 seconds or so, then oh shit, Kraken! Level 1 is a great tutorial teaching about heroes countering myth units, a bit about powers and resources, and recruitment. Play it for the basics and move on. Similar situation for the next mission, only with a bit more leeway given to you, so you can fail if you've recently had your head caved in. During the siege, the pirates stole the Poseidon statue's trident. You need that back, so you sail to go kick their ass and get it back. As it turns out, an old friend of Arcanto's had it, a minotaur named Kamos. You beat him up, take it back to Atlantis, and Arcantos comes to the decision that he must head to Troy and help the Greeks. The next few missions are just the siege of Troy if Atlantis was there. You even meet some famous heroes like Odysseus, Agamemnon, and Ajax. Arcantos shows up, Troy is almost kill, Troy is not kill. Build big horse. Let me explain to you why I hate this mission. This mission tasks you with building the wooden horse and sneaking into Troy. Fine, that's some good stuff. But let me tell you why it's bullshit. That horse is awful. You need 1,000 wood to build the thing, which isn't even the bad part. It takes so goddamn long to build that wooden horse. I'm not including the time it takes to gather the wood. Just building it takes enough time for Alexander to go build his fucking empire. But even that wouldn't be so bad if Troy didn't constantly send out scouting forces to check out what the hell's going on over there. These forces are all elite cavalry that smash your forces by the third rate, and if you don't kill every last one, then you go back to Troy and get an even bigger army to come kick your ass. Just build some military units, you fucking idiot, I hear you say. Do you think it's that simple? If you build military buildings early, guess what? Less wood, no horse. If you build archers with the dedicated anti-cavalry cavalry, guess what? Less wood, no horse. If you build units like hoplites that don't take wood, well guess what? You have to gather those resources instead, which means, you guessed it, less wood, no horse. Well then gather the wood, start the horse, and then build up defenses, you say. Sorry chief, but that won't work either. By that point, you've already had a few raids come by, and if you haven't killed them all to a man, you've had at least a few invasions. If you stop to build up forces, you won't be able to defend yourself long enough to do it. It's not like the horse will help you defend itself.
I don't understand. Will it fight?
Take the difficulty down to moderate or break the game and train the cavalry with one of your faster horse like it's around 50 on zombies. The less time in this part of the mission, the better. Alright, Impotent Rant over. When the horse is constructed, deconstruct Troy. This is the first time the game throws in a neat alternative way to play that doesn't make me hate myself. It's a stealth section of sorts. Avoid some guards and sneak over to the siege machines to break down the gates and let in the main forces. With that, Troy is sacked and Arcantos is ready to go home. Unfortunately, his ships haven't seen any maintenance in quite a while.
You don't think they can make it to Atlantis?
No.
So him and Ajax take a pit stop and oh dear, everything's in ashes. As it turns out, leaving your city completely without a garrison makes bandits very eager to come pay a visit. So you start freeing citizens from the bandits and eventually rescue... Holy shit, is that Chiron? Yeah, it is. Welcome to the party, Mr. Brunner. This whole mission is another unique one. You don't really get any kind of base. You can capture the city's buildings back and can recruit some units from them, but you can't gather any resources. You just need to keep pressing onward. Chiron starts guiding the party until they hit a wall. Literally. Like Arcanto says, this isn't your everyday bandit's handiwork, and if you've been paying attention to the cutscenes at all, as well as the missions map, you'll see whose work it is. An angry cyclops named Gargarensis. He's got the city's residents from the last mission digging something out for him. I wonder what it is. Ah yes, of course, it's a tunnel to hell. I'd say Gargarensis should know his myths well enough not to screw around with journeying to the underworld, but for him it might be history that hasn't happened yet, so I guess he gets a pass. What's he doing down there, though? Breaking down a giant metal gateway, the descriptions of which essentially says, don't do that. Better stop this. Another interesting mission here. You've got to reach and destroy the ramp before the literal gates of hell open up. Instead of building up forces in a base, you get reinforcements coming through the underway passage that you got here through. Enemies, meanwhile, come through a variety of their own pathways. It's worth ignoring the ram for the first few minutes to explore the map a bit because you can find a few allies here, like a Nemean lion and some Medusae to help you out. You can also collapse boulders on the choke point to prevent some of the enemy reinforcements. These little kind of things make this game so fun. Anyways, you destroy the ram, but now you're stuck in the underworld. Some friendly ghosts guide you out, and Arcantos gets his first hint that things might not be as they seem when Zeus rather than Poseidon is the god to bless him.
What if he escapes the underworld?
What if he does? He isn't going to gather an army and bring it to Egypt before I've let the old one out.
Oh, look at that, Arcantos is in Egypt. Some lady shows up and says help her if you'd like to live. As it turns out, she kicks ass. Anyways, long story short, you have to wake up Guardian. Then you have to piece together Osiris because Set cut him up not too long ago. Myths are current events at this point, so I guess it checks out. Play some Tug of War. It's actually a pretty easy mission since you start with what's pretty much an endgame city. Just spawn some skellies around the cart and take it back while you train a real military back home. Next up is Arcantos and some others being captured. They're 0 for 2 on getting ambushed in Egypt, so that's great. He's also got some more spooky foreshadowing about Poseidon from Gargarensis. It's up to Amonra to bail them out with some animal friends of hers. It's honestly pretty badass.
Isis, hear my plea. I have been betrayed by a servant of Set. Send your blessing upon me, and I will have vengeance.
After they're rescued, Orcanthos has a trippy dream where Athena lets him know that, yeah, Poseidon is a real asshole as it turns out, trying to burn down Olympus, take over the king of the gods position, you know, all that fun family stuff. Orcanthos also burns down Dream Atlantis, because I guess he has some stuff to work through. When he wakes up, you now have to go grab all those Osiris pieces, a mission for each. Amonra just has to get to her, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Chiron has to... Oh god damn it. Chiron has to cut down a big tree. Guess what we're going back to? At least some friends of the Viking variety show up. They bring their resource carts with them, so you can get a taste of what the Norse play like. Meanwhile, Orcanthos and Ajax are settling some unfinished business with Kamos since he's got the final piece. I know the game says I'm at peace with the rows of towers and ships, but I still hate chancing it like this. Thankfully, by the time they do discover what you're up to, you should have a nice base going. Build up, take your Colossus tribute for the nice temple people, and finish off Kamos for real this time. Technically did it to himself, too. Finally, it's time. Do what the gods did in mythology and assemble the pieces of Osiris. Similar to the first time you meet Gargarensis, your forces are split up, though here there isn't much keeping you apart. Just some walls opposed to the geography of the map itself. Build up your forces and march on the temple. Orcanthos and Ajax arrive partway through with their own army as well. It takes a minute for him to wake up though once everything's together. Just long enough for your foes to feel smug before a literal god manifests in front of them to kick some ass.
I have come upon the earth, and with my 2 feet taken possession.
Everyone's ass, since he evidently doesn't seem to give much of a crap about friendly fire. The Cyclops escapes, of course, though, because you still need to play through the Norse part of the game. Though before that, it's time to meet with some old friends. Remember how the first act of the game was just the Siege of Troy? Well, guess what? Now it's the Odyssey, because on the way north you run into the wreckage of your good friend Odysseus' ships. When you land, however, there's nothing. Only a couple of pigs to... Wait a minute. Ah, shit. At least Circe didn't completely screw you over. Orcanthos and Ajax turned into boars instead of pigs. It's actually pretty cool. You get to fight your way through a few small villages and save as many pig soldiers as you can from the hungry villagers. I can't say I remember Circe having an island nation fortress of her own to rule over, but the last thing I read with her in it was the Percy Jackson book, so maybe I gotta go over some high school English notes. Destroy your fort and rescue Odysseus so we can finish up his journey and you can resume your own. Onward to the Northlands. The Northlands sure suck. The massive avalanche summoned by Gargarensis' slam poetry doesn't help matters either, but what can you do? A surprisingly soft avalanche too, since no one died, you're just kinda scattered over a few hundred square feet. Meet up, suit up, and destroy some temples. Get spied on by some dwarves. As it turns out, they're just socially awkward, no ill intentions. They need to recapture their forge, which conveniently also leads to Midgard, where you're headed. A quick little side note, you might have noticed I've given up pretending I'm good enough for hard mode if you've been paying attention to the little difficulty indicator up at the top of the screen. This mission, however, should be played on hard, because aside from a few giants you run across, you're not going to find much opposition here. Even at the end of the mission, when one of your manlet friends goes, "The giants are coming, the giants are coming," not a single one actually attacked. Moved half my army away to go destroy some houses I ignored at first and nothing happened. There are a few missions that are like this that you gotta play on hard if you really want any kind of challenge, before switching back to moderate because you get your shit pushed in next time. Back to the campaign. Don't worry, we're almost halfway done. With the forge recaptured, it's off to Midgard. The dwarves seem to also want to go to the underworld, or at least the gateway to it, but once again, they didn't just say that's what they needed to do, so they stay behind the trail Orcanthos and co. Meanwhile, the party encounters an old man with a flag, and he says that if you can bring it before a group of warring clans, then they'll stop fighting long enough to hear you out, though it probably won't do you any good. You break through some rocks, run from a horde of giants, and head up to the battle site. As it turns out, the old man was mostly right. They stop fighting long enough to be enraged by your flag, and come to kick your ass instead of each other's. Whoever Volstagg is, he's apparently a real prick. Now you have to unite the clans by murdering their leaders in cold blood and... Hang on a minute. Murderous Vikings, kill leaders to get all their stuff. Did this inspire Norska? Well, with that put aside for now, time to confront the old man. Naturally, he knew this would happen since he's a servant of Loki, and they do this every now and then for shits and giggles. Thankfully, Valkyrie is busy with the same thing you are, stopping Gargarensis. Team up and get to that underworld passage. This one is a bit funkier than the ones before it, which naturally means almost everyone is pussyfooting around diving into it.
You go first, Kyra. If you fall screaming to your death, we'll just stay here.
Except for Amonra, who's probably just happy to get out of the Arctic in Egyptian summer clothing. You get there, and surprise, surprise, the Cyclops is at another gate. Build up forces in Midgard and send them into the underworld to assault the gate once more. Except, not really, because when you win the mission, the cutscene decides it's retreat time. Fine, whatever, we'll group up for round 2 and... hey Chiron, what's up? Oh no. And now, it's personal. Our stunty friends return to help us take revenge with some more divine help. Once again, we are chopping down Big Tree trademark. This one is quicker at least. Bring the head over to you, chop the tree down and get the shaft out, kill the dragon that comes to investigate. Gargarensis actually opens this one, but then Chris Hemsworth closes it. Better luck next time, douchebag. Wait, that hammer hits pretty hard, doesn't it? That's one way to make an exit. Of course, you're out at the underworld now, but you have to get prepared for a siege coming up. Get yapped at by Gargarensis after you get ready, and watch Ajax be a real smartass.
We surrender. Move a little closer.
Yeah, get fucked, buddy. Hold out until Odysseus, of all people, comes to the rescue and take your revenge.
This is for Chiron.
Now it's finally time to return home.
Bring out the head of Gargarensis. Lash it to the bow.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's not good.
What trick is this? That is Kemsid's head.
Arkantos!
Oh, shit. Alright, get in there, rescue the people, and get them the fuck off of Atlantis. Build them as quick as you can and get in there to free them. Finally, the end has come. The last gate under Atlantis is revealed, and Poseidon... well... yeah, that's pretty intimidating. A shame, though, that we have the bolt power to start us right off, though. We can just zap him and get him right out of the gate.
Attacks are of no use.
Oh, no. It's time for the last Hail Mary. Build a wonder to Zeus so he can bless you and give you superpowers. You have to hold off the constant assault on both your base and the allies that stay behind to help you out. But out of all the long processes of building or cutting something down in this game, this one is especially worth it. Poseidon may have a hunk of rock, but Zeus has you, and you have demigod status. Once you've built the wonder and gotten the upgrade, you've already won the game. The enemy just doesn't know it yet. Arkantos is essentially unstoppable in this form. All that's left is to go style on them and save the day. Ha! Idiot. Now the day is saved and Atlantis can go back to normal. Or not, because it's, well, Atlantis. Well, in this game it's because of a civil war between the gods. Atlantis falls just like in the myth. But there's still hope. Unlike the myth, the people have been evacuated, most of our heroes have lived, and Arkantos, while he may have been left behind, is now a full-fledged minor god thanks to Athena. And thus ends the tale of the Age of Mythology. Alright, deep breath. At this point, I've hit the major bases of the game I can think of and covered the main story. At risk of this becoming an hour-long video, I'm not going to cover the rest of the campaigns. I'm sorry if you wanted me to go through the rest, but at this point I'd just be talking about the plot and going through over a few things that don't really change anything fundamental about the game. But I did promise the Ultimate Myth unit earlier, and he's part of the Titans DLC, so consider this a sneak preview of what's to come. In skirmish games, once you hit the Myth era, you're still not done. You can research the ability to construct Titan gates, yeah, like the campaign ones. Each civilization has their own unique model once they unearth it, but they all have the same stats. Pick where you want it, dig it out, and unleash the power of long-forgotten deities on your enemies. For them, there is no unit rock, paper, scissors. The enemy either has another Titan and they'll kill each other, or they're done for. Walk in and rain hell. That's Age of Mythology. An older one to be sure, but it's aged very well. Not too difficult unless you want it to be, and even then it's still a relaxing strategy game to kick back and enjoy. Does it have issues? Yeah. Are they anything to hold off from buying the game over? Absolutely not. This game is well worth your time, and the same can be said for the Titans expansion. Surprisingly, it still gets semi-regular updates, and there's even workshop support on Steam. Because it's so old, it's not that expensive and goes on sale fairly often. I hope I've sold you on this game if you don't have it. The more people that can level like I have, the better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, then stick around. Either way, I wish you well and I hope you stay warm out there. Take care. Oh, I forgot. This being an old game, there's cheat codes, resources, units, everything. Take that, Troy, you stupid fox. I really fucking hate that level.